take a breath. Okay. Thank you. No, that's great. All right, is everyone ready? Leslie, Deputy County Manager Johnson, are you?
We're ready.
You're ready on your side?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Okay, so with that. Sure, yeah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and begin the meeting. So I want to welcome everyone to the November 8th, 2023 meeting of the Mecklenburg County Economic Development Committee. I am Commissioner Susan Rodriguez McDowell, and I have the pleasure of serving as chair of this committee. So we welcome the public who have been provided with a call-in number to access this meeting. Is the public, or do we have folks dialed in? Okay, so right now we're only with staff and ourselves. Okay, then I'm not going to read all that about sending requests to you and everything. So we'll begin today's meeting by introducing those of us in the room here at the Government Center. Please introduce yourselves, my fellow commissioners, starting to my right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark Jarrell, District 4.
All right.
Good afternoon, Laura Meyer, District 5.
Good afternoon, Lee Altman, County Commissioner serving at large.
Fantastic. And I think I would love to go over to our Deputy County Manager.
Yes, good afternoon. Deputy County Manager Leslie Johnson.
Who almost forgot her name. And we'll come over here and start here and go down.
Good afternoon, Roger Johnson, Economic Development Director. Fred Atiemo, with Economic Development Department.
Shahid Rana with the Office of Economic Development.
Clay Andrews, Office of Economic Development.
Keisha Whitley, Office of Economic Development.
Mark Stewart, Office of Economic Development.
Agustin Velasquez, Economic Development Office.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Do you want to introduce those that are on the line?
Online, we have Britt Clampett from Public Information, Ellie Fester, Jamelia Davis, Janelle Rosales from Economic Development, and Timothy Tibbs from the County Manager's Office.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. So where we'll begin is approving our minutes from November, let's see, October 3rd.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so motion is made by Commissioner,
Meyer.
what's your name? Okay. Meyer.
Jarrell.
Seconded by Commissioner Durrell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That is unanimous. The meeting minutes are approved. Okay, so I will now recognize Deputy County Manager Leslie Johnson to introduce the next agenda items.
Thanks. Good afternoon. And today we have before you two things. One is a MEC lending and business coaching program update. As you know, we have been very blessed to have the opportunity to have a revolving loan program that we're able to provide loans to individuals in the community. It's a loan up to $75,000. We put it on pause for a moment as we went through COVID because of the fact that we had other revenue sources that we're able to leverage. Since that has now closed out, which was the stabilization program, we have been able to kind of relaunch our MEC lending program. And so Fred will be with us today to provide us a big overview about where we are and how we're tracking and some refinements that we've done to the program since its inception. And then we'll transition from that presentation after your questions and answers that you may have. And then we'll go into closed session where we have a few things that we want you to be aware of as business incentive grant program projects that are in the queue for us right now. And that is it.
All right, fantastic. Thanks.
So with that, I'll turn it over to Fred.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you, Leslie. I will be going through the business lending and coaching program and giving an update as Leslie mentioned. So the business lending and coaching program, the main objective is to prepare businesses to access capital. I also work with business owners to find suitable loans, being bankers or even other nonprofit agencies, leverage resources with technical assistance providers. I help entrepreneurs to fine-tune their business concepts and also advise entrepreneurs on action plan to remediate credit challenges they may have. So where do we get in our referrals? And as you can see, we get most of them from events and presentations that we make. Also, the BDI team, the business consultant staff, technical assistant providers, bankers, existing clients, OUD website, and of course, also commissioners like yourselves, we get referrals. And so what are we doing in terms of the market area that we are serving? And when this program was launched or when it was put together, we shared this with commissioners. And that is where the market, you can see the empty space starting from year 2, this area, that is where the market is, and that is where we continue to serve the market. So why does it matter? You know, small business still need help obtaining financing. Financing is a challenge for small business owners, especially in this economy. And with this loan program, we are focusing, giving priorities to participants of MEC County anchored programs, such as Business Launchpad, Get Up and Grow. We are also going to be focusing in the municipalities outside of Charlotte. So that is where the concentration is going to be. And how does it work? Applicants are provided with technical assistance and guided through the loan application process from A to Z. And of course, this is our marketing brochure that we use. So I just wanted to show you the picture. So at least you can see it. It's a flyer that we've been using. McLendon. And I'm going to give you a little history in terms of how we started and where we are today. So this in 2019, that is when the Board of County Commissioners approved, authorized 2.75 million to support small business owners through this program. Then it was launched in 2019, and immediately after that, the pandemic hit, so there was a pause. And in response to the pandemic in 2020, the county introduced stabilization loan program with 5 million, which supported 223 small business owners in the county. And then in April 2021, we revised the program criteria to meet the challenges at that time. And in August 2021, we rebranded the program and increased participation. By June of 2023, the seed capital of 2.75 has fully been committed, and that supported 48 business owners. Then in October 2023, authorized by the County Board of Commissioners to use the stabilization loan fund to recapitalize and keep the MEC lending program going to meet the challenges that we have, and also to better serve the small business owners in the county. So this is just a small or a snapshot in terms of the portfolio summary. So of the $2.88 million that has been lent out, I mean, the original amount was 2.75, but because of the collected interest and things like that has been funded again. That is why there is a difference of 2.75 and 2.88 million. Supported 48 businesses. Out of that, 83% minority-owned businesses, and 46%, excuse me, that is women-owned business. The average loan size is 60,000. And that has resulted in the creation and retention of 190 jobs. Of all the applications received, in terms of loan approval rate, we have 41%. Meaning a high percentage of applicants didn't make it through for various reasons, which we help them. Maybe the next phase, they might be able to qualify. In terms of the performance of the loan portfolio, as of date, we have 2 loans that are within 30 to 60 days past due. The amount that is delinquent is 2,643. Then with 61 to 90 days, we have 1 loan, and that is 1,320 in terms of the past due amount. And 90 to 120 days, also 1 loan with delinquent amount of 2,655. So I want to give you a few, we're going to highlight and also give you a spotlight of some stories so that at least you can see how the program is performing. I think last time when I made a presentation, we showed about 5 different businesses, and this time we're going to show 4 other businesses to, and the first will be a towing company, and then an ethnic food truck, a counseling service, an electrical contractor. So this gentleman, Juan Barragan, I hope I pronounced his name very right. He spent 18 years in jail. And while he was in prison, he really thought through and said, when he gets out, he wants to start his own business. So when he came out, he tried through different avenues and he couldn't get a loan. Through us, he was able to obtain a loan. And this is what he has to say. Say, thank you, Mecklenburg County Office of Economic Development. Because of your loan program, I now have a business. He has a towing company. He's also very good fixing cars. So he goes to auctions, buy cars, fix them, and sell them. A very successful story, gentlemen. The next one is Don Jamaican Kitchen. It's a husband and wife team. And again, just like the previous one I talked about, they also went around trying to get loan to support or to start a business. And they couldn't get any heads up. And through our loan program, they were able to get it. And again, according to them, and I'm going to read what they said, is that when others told us no, Mecklenburg County said yes to our vision to own a food truck. Because of the yes, we now have a business. Thank you. And this is a husband and wife team, so to speak. The next one is a common counseling, and this is our mental health service providers. And again, they also, through our loan program, we're able to help them to be able to get the resources they need so that at least they can effectively run their business. And they've expressed a lot of gratitude, showing how much they appreciate our loan program, the county loan program. So that is the third one. Last but not the least, is a Service Global company, a group, it's an electrical firm. The immigrants migrated from Venezuela. So while they were in Venezuela about 15 years, they were in the field of low current business. And when they got to Charlotte, they decided to, run a business, and they have a business. And through our loan program, they say that they've been able to secure procurement, a contract, and been able to hire 6 independent contractors as a full-time employer. So these are the impact, and there's a few of them, the stories that we want to share with you in terms of how the loan is functioning or performing and the businesses that we are supporting. So in order for the loan program to revolve, and that's been a concern of ours, so that at least perpetuality could be attained. As a result of that, we are recommending some changes in the program guidelines, and that will help us. And we did a lot of analysis to demonstrate that, based on what we are proposing, the loan program will sustain and it will carry on for a very long time. We will recommend that still the ceiling is 75,000 as approved by commissioners. But we'll limit the loan fund to existing small businesses. That meaning that if you have not been in business for a year or longer, the startups, we want to rather help them. All the research shows that, we're able to help businesses all around this region. Keeping them 2 years, 3 years becomes a challenge. And so that is the area that we want to also focus and help them. We want to focus our limited resources on, as I said earlier, on county anchored programs such as the Business Launchpad and also the other municipalities around Charlotte, and start a very aggressive campaign to those areas. It will also improve the quality portfolio, the loan portfolio, by modifying credit score, the debt service coverage ratio, and the unpaid judgment threshold. And later on, I will show you side by side so that you can see the changes that we are recommending in the impact it will have. We're going to shorten the interest-only payment period and also the loan amortization schedule. This will allow us to, capture the money a little earlier so that at least we can fund more money. And when we did our analysis, that is a really way to go. We'll fix the interest rate so that the new money coming in, that will also be used effectively to support businesses through the pipeline as we go along. So I think the next page is the side by side so that you can see the existing program now is 2 million in terms of the annual revenue for business to qualify. And we are recommending the amount to be 1 million. That shouldn't have any impact. Business owners, small business owners, revenue of 1 million is a reasonable. Startup, as I said earlier, we want to focus on businesses that have been in business for 1 year or longer, supported by tax returns. We also allowed in the existing business unpaid judgment up to 1,000 with medical related exempt. And we are recommending that if there is a judgment or a delinquency, you take care of it. But we're still, if it's a medical related, we want to exempt that because small business owners, that is where they suffer at no fault of theirs. So that is the recommendation. Credit score, we bump it up just a little bit from 550 to 580. And also the debt coverage service ratio, we move it from 1:1 to 1.1, so that at least there will be a little cushion to service the debt. Interest rate is prime rate, and we want to fix it at 7%. Amortization schedule, 90 years amortization term. We are recommending a 7-year term. Interest only payment have been 12 months, and we think 6 months is sufficient, and we'll be able to help small business owners to take care of it. Collateral protection, and again, we didn't put it, the previous one says blanket UCC, but also purchase money order security interest was part of it, except that we didn't, all our communications, we didn't put it down. That's why I left it, but it has been a practice. So nothing is changing. We still have both of them. And the last one, the last line talks about exemptions, and that is permitted. And the whole idea is that we don't want to put the loan administrator in a box. So you give them the leeway where they can move a little bit as a guideline to provide the services. So this is the presentation I have for commissioners, and thank you.
Okay. Do you have any more you want to add before we ask questions?
No, I'll let you go ahead and ask the questions, but as Fred did note that we've been tracking and monitoring our program and trying to figure out how do we refine it to still allow people to have the eligibility and participate in the program, but being mindful that we're no longer in the COVID circumstances where we were being a little bit more liberal and allowing people to come through the door, and also trying to be intentional with getting the money back into the door so that we can help others and making sure that it does have a true revolving systemic kind of a model. Because as noted with you originally, I think the plan when it was originally rolled out estimated that in a given year, we would probably reach about 12 or 15 applicants. And you see in that year and a half, right after COVID, we got to like 40 some odd people or businesses. And so we're trying to say, what's that right balance that we can serve the demand that's coming in and still have a pool of money in order to ensure that it's a healthy and solvent kind of way or a sustainable model for us as we move forward.
Okay. All right, well, let's go with questions. Would you like to start, Commissioner Meyer?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. Just a couple questions. On slide 8, what is the timeline for that? Is that total? The portfolio summary?
The question again, please.
What's the timeline for that? It says approved loans, 2.88 million over what period of time? Like how long? Total?
Yeah, that is after 2020.
So it's after COVID.
Prior to COVID. So in 2019, it was 1 or 2.
Okay.
and we put it on pause.
Okay.
From 2021 to present, that's what you see.
Okay. And then I'm a little concerned about no startups. I'm a little concerned about that. Only because it's just an opportunity for somebody to start something. And so will there be exceptions?
Commissioner, you were right, in terms of the startups, but what we, unlike maybe startup going to a bank anytime a municipality is running a loan program and there's a startup, the pool of applicants we get are woefully unprepared. And so it takes a lot of time. So we are using this opportunity. We'll still help them so that we can better position them. And a good number are not prepared, after we go through all that. So, so that is what we recommend at this time.
And
So,
the other thing that I'll add to that context or whatever, one of the things that I said is that we're trying to give or focus on, it doesn't mean it's limited, but really focus on those that come through our doors and the ones that he noted were the flagship programs, but it says et cetera. And those et ceteras are like the Mark Stewarts. So Mark is when people come through the door and they're saying they have an interest in starting up a new business. He's trying to ensure that they have all the things in place to ensure they can do it and do it well and not be able to follow through. So it doesn't mean startups will not be able to, but we're really hoping to get the startups that have at least got the technical support from us to ensure that they will do it and do it well.
okay, so they can go through a program and learn from us and then, but it still would technically be a startup, right?
It could be a startup, but
Okay, but you have more faith that they
They
have
go
more
through-
understanding. Okay.
if Mark's helped
That
them,
makes
I've
me
got a
feel
lot of
better.
faith.
Okay, that makes me feel better. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Commissioner Altman?
I would like for the people who were in office to raise their hands when this was implemented. Yes, the two on my far right. Y'all, this is so amazing.
Mhm.
Thank you for the leadership, the inspiration, the hard work. I just think it's phenomenal. I do have a question about the third to last slide. Where it has a summary of all the terms. That one. So I'm not gonna sort of make you explain to me all the implications of where you're tightening a little, where you're loosening a little. I have to go back to law school days to remember about collateral perfection, and I really actually don't want to go back there. I really don't, I guess just to say that this is one of those moments where I really am relying on the expertise of staff to understand what, that this is how would you summarize the goals that the revised guidelines achieve? How would you summarize what they're doing in terms of where they tighten, where they loosen?
So among what we want to achieve will be ensuring that the loan portfolio remains stronger going forward so that repayment will come in and be able to serve other customers. That is the first thing. Secondly, we want to make sure that we target the population that, gone through our programs and also, some areas within the outside of Charlotte, other municipalities. So at the end of the day, we want to have a very healthy portfolio, yet be able to serve the clientele that we are serving without squeezing too hard, but also want to make sure that we are responsible for what, you're asking us to do.
Right. So like dropping the interest rate. I don't know, not dropping, fixing the interest rate. Changing the amortization schedule, changing the repayment period. What does that do? What do these things do? These different
Yeah.
tweaks?
So if we had billions, there are millions, then the interest rate, a few adjustments, sometimes it matters. The prime rate, I think, is now 8.5, and we are fixing it at 7, even though it's not a whole lot. Clientele, when you hear that, or the county has a loan program, you're charging 8%, that perception. But fixing it at 7, based on the analysis we did, shows that the money will be able to revolve and be able to pay back.
Mhm.
So to that, that is the reason why we did that. The 12 months of interest only, that was a longer period than when we started this program. It was a pilot, we're testing it. And so we thought 6 months is an ideal time to give a business owner that type of flexibility of interest only before P&I comes.
So is it fair to say that we're tightening the requirements a little just to ensure longevity and
Yeah,
soundness?
we
Is that
can say
true?
that. Yeah,
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
we can say that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One other thing I'll note is that used one of my favorite words, and I'm glad it sinks in. The first wave was the pilot, right? And so now we've had lessons learned. And now we think that we can do this and not compromise the ability to give loans to individuals that really need it. And that we will still be in a position to get the money back in so we can continue to make loans to other small businesses and we don't have a whole lot of defaults. So that's the balancing act. Now, we find out a year from now that we're not able to, we are getting a whole lot of, we are not able to get loans out in the community, we'll revisit again. So we try to ensure that we use our data and experiences to shape how we're doing this program.
Thank you.
And we may find out 2 years from now we got to move, it's not 7%, it needs to be 5% because the market has gone. So those things, it's not into perpetuity. This is just where we are based on the market, based on what we're seeing, and based on the data and analysis that we have today.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, great. Commissioner Darrell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Fred, thank you for the presentation. I think you and Mark both know we are just huge fans of your work and what you do. And certainly couldn't let the moment go by without saying that. So with respect to what we're seeing, when we talk about annual revenue, are we capping it at 1 million? That's the cap.
Yeah, that is the cap.
And help me understand why we're not saying up to 2 million.
Well, when we opened it up, initially the program was 1 million. And when we're not getting money out, we said, okay, why don't we increase it to 2 million and perhaps we'll get more. And we didn't see any business owner within that 2 million range.
I got you.
So that's the
Okay.
first, yeah. And secondly, if someone is just 100,000 over the million, that is why we give the, the flexibility, then we'll be able to consider.
Right. And so the point being, and thank you for that, because one, I think we can't stress enough, it takes money to make money. There's no question about that. And small businesses have to have that. I think the credit score is reasonable. And was there an analysis done to say if we use this current guideline, was there an analysis done to say what the impact would have been to those that came into the process?
We didn't do analysis in terms of comparative analysis to determine, yeah, this will have happened if we have done so. So we use just, I would say, educated guess and also what we see on the market in terms of the interest rate and also in terms of the credit score. And most areas were even pushing up to 600. And we thought, well, the economy hasn't been fair to small business
Right.
owners. And so we will still give them a lot of way.
Okay. And I guess where I'm going with that is that because the way that our cycle runs and we wait like year to year, or, we need a long runway to be able to make a change. If we did an analysis that told us that that number of 46 approvals would have been 22, I would not want to move forward with the new guidelines. I would want to keep it the same. Because the whole goal for me would be to get as much out the door, even understanding that the revolving piece. So, well, no. And so, but I guess if we go down, like if we knew that the number of approvals would have been cut in half, we wouldn't be achieving our objective and in that way. So I guess all I'm saying is for me to feel warm and fuzzy, I would like to understand that there would not have been a negligible impact based on these new guidelines, if that makes any sense.
It does. I would think, and Fred's definitely chime in, I don't think it's going to have a significant impact in the number that we're seeing for those who are interested in our loans. I don't think that's going to have that impact at all. And I hear you, and there's an opportunity as we move forward because we're going to always be calibrating and looking to see, did we do something that's having the adverse effect that we don't want to have happen? So we're definitely going to be keeping a pulse on that. I think if we compare it to the cohort or the data set that we have up to this point, a lot of that was during, it was right after COVID. So their circumstances right after COVID may have been a little different than how they're set up right at this moment. So would there have been an applicant that potentially would have been denied because of this? I'm probably sure I have to
Sure.
say yes. Is it a significant amount? My pulse says no, but there would be some, and we did not do the quantifiable thing, and we can kind of get a pulse on it. But I would say that those times and circumstances were very different because we were also not really focusing on all the ones that we had touched. It was anybody who was coming in the door.
Yeah,
So
and I respect that, and I understand exactly what you all are saying. Just you know, to be fully transparent, for me to feel comfortable, I would like to understand what the impact would have been with respect to these guidelines, or, you know, some to a certain degree to the level that we could. But I'm one commissioner, so I don't want to send staff down a rabbit hole on that. But I would like to understand much better where we would be, because I think moving forward that there is going to be some level of impact.
So Commissioner, let me also add to what our leader said, in that, you know, when we went and reviewed the portfolio, the entire portfolio, both the approved, we picked and reviewed it. And in a business lending, it's not only one marker. So whereas we tighten one area, we loosen another area, the impact will be very, very, very small from that perspective. So, and this is organization, the Carolina Small Business Development Fund, been doing it for many years, serving this market, and most of them come through us. So we spot check earlier before we go. So if anything, I thought it would be very, very, very small.
One other point, Madam Chair, I do think it's important, and thank you, Fred, that's helpful. I do think it's important to, when we look at the performance of the portfolio, it seems to me that we have been, and we still are outperforming what traditional lenders are doing. And I think that's something that should be highlighted because we're taking a higher risk, but we're getting better performance.
correct.
So I think that should certainly be highlighted. And the final piece is with respect to our marketing. And I know we have PI on the line. I would really like for sometimes small business owners don't apply because they don't think they can qualify. So just knowing that you have a lending program out there, most folks don't want to waste time because they've always gone down a rabbit hole and have been rejected and so on and so forth. It would be wonderful for us to be able to market in a way where small business owners know, hey, you have medical judgments, don't worry, or you have, I mean, 580 credit score, you're fine, right? I mean, the credit score is a driver for so many folks in our society, whether you're a small business owner or not. So to have that out front in our marketing material so that they understand that they can take advantage of it, it might be worth their time, maybe something for us to consider. Thank
The
you.
two things I'll share. One,
Thank
I
you.
heard you with regards to ensuring that we'll continue to keep a pulse on as we refine criteria, what happens, what impact would it have to the number of applicants that we receive and submit loans that we administer. The second thing that I would say, also heard you with the marketing. One of the things I'll tell you that I think is a strategy that we've implemented, and you can react to it and say, well, Leslie, I still want us to market heavily on this lending side, is that it's equally important for us to market our concierge and consultation services,
Right.
to say, this is what we do for small businesses, and understand what you're trying to achieve and make sure that we help you get to where you're needing to go. And if you need a loan to get you there, then we're doing both pieces, not just marketing here, we got a loan, here come whatever, but because we want to ensure the success of it. So we're trying to put the emphasis on the consultation, the whole technical support to ensure, and as part of that, they'll learn that we have a loan product as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, I'll just add that Dr. Johnson has been introducing us to all the town managers and leaders within Mecklenburg County. Without exception, all of those potential leaders and others in the community have a strong desire for greater small business support for our cohort programs, as well as the McLending program. It was mentioned, or at least touched on by Fred, but I wanted to reiterate that this program is going to be pushed out into those communities in an expansive way they hadn't been to date, to include the cohort programs in probably the northern area and the southern area, as well as the particular aspects of McLending. We'll take that opportunity to improve and the marketing to include the things that you suggested.
All right, great. Well, so just to stay on this theme on this page, I share Commissioner Durrell's concern around who we're going to miss. And I know, I've heard, what y'all have said. But like the judgment piece about, it feels like are you saying that there's really not that many people in that situation that are coming to us? That's why we're changing it to, no unpaid judgment and or delinquent taxes except for medical?
No, not specifically. That area, we thought that is an act of responsibility. So we are pushing small business owners to say, if you have a judgment and you can explain it, there are some judgments where maybe the person fell sick, within that time period, and they had no money to repay. So when you're doing a loan analysis, underwriting these type of loans, all those come to play. And so where the person can justify that, yes, there is a judgment and this is what happened and it's reasonable, I think that should be considered.
So but you don't sort of have that wiggle room in this language unless I'm just not reading it right.
Yeah, that is true. We condensed it, but the exception to guidelines that allow, so we can include that if you think that will convey to the administrators who will convey that to them.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about those people who, like we're trying to reach the folks who no one else will lend to them because they have a judgment, like that's our market. And so I think that, the point about our sort of wraparound services that we're doing, like our wraparound, the folks that, the things that you guys are providing, the sort of assistance, is probably why, we have our better results, right? That we're inferring that it's because we provide that level of service. It just seems like with that level of service, it should go to the folks who need it the most, who can't go somewhere else.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I'm feeling a little uncomfortable with that. And so, that change. And so, especially if you had the limit at 1,000, it's not a huge loss if, I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. And I think it's just different ways to look at it. And as Fred said, we're still going to work with them, right? So I don't know. It depends on what that exception is. Like it's part of the portfolio analysis that they try to determine. Now, here, he was just trying to clearly make sure that it was noted that it's medical. If a medical reason, clearly we'll exempt that one. That's an easy breezy. That's not even worth contemplating on. But the other scenarios, we just don't know what they are, right? So that's one.
This is not the final language.
This is just a PowerPoint slide to try to get it to
Okay.
you so you can see it at the
Right.
100,000 foot view.
So let's make sure, because of the feedback today, that when we do make that point on our marketing, that we really spell it out.
Yeah,
That,
you're looking at the fine print on the back of a brochure, but with residency, fast and easy to apply, higher acceptance, low payment, easy to qualify, will assist you with completing required information. We want you to succeed. So all of the points that you mentioned are there on the public facing marketing
Okay.
piece.
Right.
What you're looking at is the fine print, actual loan criteria that's more so on the back end side.
all right, okay,
So the residents see this component and they understand easy to apply,
okay,
qualifications are easier for us. We're willing to work with you. So all of the customer service related, easy barrier of entry language is on the marketing stuff. And it's also done in Spanish as well.
mhm,
So we have that public facing piece. What you're responding to is more so fine print, and the
Okay.
loan details, so.
That's really helpful. Thank you for that.
But I would also say to that, I mean, the other piece of it, while that is all true, if someone, I'm just gonna say is $1,200, and it's just a little over 1,000, even though you think it's 1,000. If it was medical, we may still consider it, but if it was $1,200, and it was something that we felt like you need to pay that first before getting this loan, we're going to direct them and try to give them the resources to make the payment before issuing the loan.
Okay,
So it's kind of,
okay. Okay, that's
we're trying to
helpful.
make, we're trying, go ahead, Mark, I know you.
I've actually had clients who had judgments, medical judgments, and I actually coached them how to go back to the hospital, apply for financial assistance,
Hmm,
get it suspended. I've done that several times.
great.
I've had clients where their credit scores were messed up, so I created a platform so they can contact all the agencies, get their credit scores up. And it may take several months for them to go back and be prepared to apply. Some of those clients Fred assisted, the first gentleman, I spent almost 7 months assisting him before he applied for MEC lending. Through the business plan, through understanding his financials, how to defend his financials, how to understand his numbers, how to understand his impact. So even coaching his son on how to operate the business so that he can be effective with the father.
Hmm.
So there are a variety of things that happen so that they're prepared to go. Clients that I basically kind of had to let loose is with clients who weren't able and weren't willing to respond.
Mhm,
Sometimes you have clients who say, I want to do a business, but you're
right.
just not prepared to do so. But before they go, I give them all the tools.
Mhm,
And there's times that clients will call me back 2-3 months later or 2 or 3 years later and say, hey, Mark, I'm ready to do something.
mm,
So I'll look at them, reassess them to see how well they are. And if they're ready to move, then I move them forward. You were saying something about startup businesses. Majority of those businesses up there were startup. But it's almost kind of like a cliche. When you decide you want to go into business, you're already a business before you even start up because you got work to do. That foundational work is so crucial. And if you talk to the majority of the clients I work with, they will tell you I give a lot of homework. And I put a lot of demands on them
mhm,
because the market's going to put more demands on them than I will. So if
mm.
they can meet my demands, between me and Fred go through them, we really put them through the ringer to make sure that this is what they need to do so that they're prepared to be successful.
Mhm. Wow, I have such a high level of confidence in you guys and your lens and how you work with people. How many of you guys do we have?
You see what you got.
Just you guys. I mean, you don't have like,
2 and a possible.
We've got new,
Okay.
we had one position that we added in the budget to, because of the demand that we have. So we have another position that will be part of the consultation team, which is with Fred and Mark, to
Okay.
try to be able to have more capacity for the
Mhm.
demand that we're seeing. And we'll just kind of
Fantastic.
keep going from there. But when I said I trust them and I know it's the wraparound that's the more important thing than these
Mhm.
criteria, because we're trying to make sure that they're suited, not just because they make the loan, but that they're suited so that they can be successful in their aspirations or their vision to make this business either grow or to start it up.
Mhm, right.
And
Okay.
if we didn't do these other important things to ensure that they have what you categorize as the wraparound services, they would be at a higher risk not to be able to succeed. And so our emphasis is really on there, and the loan is just another tool as part of everything else to make them move forward.
Right, okay. Well, so that leads me to, we're talking about this being, we want to keep the revolving aspect. And my thinking is, I get that, I want that, but if trying to make it more revolving cuts down people's time, like the 12 months interest versus the 6 months interest, I would rather put more money in, so we can have more revolving and then to cut people off, to where they're not able to, really utilize that extra time. So tell me about that as far as,
The,
6 versus 12.
the interest only payment for 12 months versus a year, from all what we've been doing over the years, I don't think it's going to have any significant impact because this program is so built into it, whereby maybe a year and a half into the loan, they're having challenges to be able to amend and be flexible. Ours is to help the businesses to be successful. And so that is why we structured it this way. And as Leslie said earlier, maybe a year from now, we see that, look, maybe we have tightened it too much and we need to loosen it. We'll come before you and then we'll present.
Okay. All right.
I was gonna say, I don't, but again, all of this was driven by us looking at our existing portfolio and trying to understand where we are coupled with the market. The revolving was one criteria that we want to do. The blessing that we have is that the board did approve that we can start using the money that we're collecting from the state, because it was 2.75. So we're using the money that we're collecting from the 5 million.
Mhm.
So eventually, in theory, you'll have 7.75 because instead of 2.75 in this program, because once those payments from those ones from the 5 million come in, we'll be circulating that money also to be lending. So the program has already grown from
Mhm.
2.75 to, in theory, 7.75, because that money will be part of that revolving based on your board approval.
Mhm. Okay.
Can
Okay.
I add something?
Oh, sure.
Or
Okay.
participation?
So just in listening to the conversation, I think when we first started out the program, it was for particular reason, right? To hit a market that could not access funds, right? There was that gap area. I think from a board perspective, we wanted to make sure that we made it as easy as humanly possible, which I think we're at the bare bones for sure, right? But I do think, I hope we don't go down the slippery slope of becoming Bank of America with but I'm just saying that the way we're looking at the fund, right? I would suspect that most of our colleagues would feel like, well, we want to be fiscally responsible without question. But I also think that we're willing to pony up however we have to, and we're not necessarily, I think we have to balance between making money per se and helping. And I don't know where that balance is and that line is.
But we're not making money, right? We're putting it back in the program so that we can lend out more. We're not like getting, keeping the interest.
If our criteria changes such that we're not moving money out the door to help businesses, it's defeating the purpose of why we started. Let me rephrase what I was saying. So all I'm saying is, I think it's reasonable what is proposed. It's more than reasonable. It makes sense. I just want us to be careful going down a slippery slope of looking at it through the lens of a traditional institution as it relates to our guidelines. And I think that may be a better
Right.
way to frame it, but I accept, trust, love, everything you're saying. That's it. Thank
And you have the intent is not to make our product mirror the private market. It's not. And we will continue to keep a pulse on this to determine if, just like when it was during the stabilization, our criteria was a little too tight and we loosened it, right? And we are committed to do the same thing because it is a balancing act. It is to achieve the goals of to make loans to individuals or to businesses so they can grow the business, as well as also to have the good financial sustainability to ensure that what we're doing, that we're not getting all our loans as defaults and they become grants, because that's not what we want. So it's a balancing act, and we're committed to continue to retweak or refine and adjust. And if we find out that we've now closed the door and we're not getting the loans that we are anticipating that we still want to make, then we'll come back and say, nope, we need to change it and make it less.
If I could make two comments, please, commissioners. One is, message has been sent and received. We're trying to do the most public benefit we can in perpetuity. If we need to adjust that, we will. And then the second thing I'll say, which was not on the screen, these two gentlemen were very humble. It didn't talk about that they go meet the clients where they are and provide the service to them, weekends, after hours. And for that, I'm very grateful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I would add just another piece of one of them, Fred, Mark, do you know what was on your last monthly report of or just give a quote of on a monthly basis, how many clients did you normally touch?
Between 330, 443.
Right.
Last year, I think my number was over 7,000 clients touched.
He's easily around 200, him individually is easily at least 200 clients he's touching on a monthly basis.
So that
And-
means that there's a huge need.
Which is why we added another source, we're slowly, you can't bring 500, five people in, but
Put more
but-
money in. Like, we might need to put more money in.
it's not the loan, it's the consultation, and it's in getting the people who would put the investment and the investment of time and commitment and passion that those two individuals put to it.
Yeah.
They don't treat this as an 8 to 5.
Mhm.
Their passion is to really help businesses achieve what they're wanting to do. And so they're in it for the mission, not for the business hours to turn on the lights and turn on. So it's a very different profile of the team that we have, and trying to ensure that we continue to have those types of people who are passionate about the work, doing the work, because they're doing, technically, you're not supposed to key in time for the weekend, but I've always allowed Mark to do it because it just lets me know he's doing stuff on Saturday, he's doing stuff on Sunday, he's doing stuff every single day for the benefit of our community.
That's
And that's a lot.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Because everything I send you is Saturday and Sunday.
No, I mean, if we have that kind of demand, then I don't know, one person doesn't seem like enough. And I know that we really need to create clones of these guys so that they're providing the service that we want, not just hiring, people. It'd have to be the right people. But if we need to, increase, this just hits on so many of our priorities, and so if we had to, the size of the, of the program is as far as how much money we have in it is small compared to what it could be. And, we have to say this, Commissioner Altman, thank you for asking us to raise our hands. But it was really Commissioner or Chairman Dunlap. This was his baby for many, many years, and he couldn't get it passed. He couldn't get it passed because he didn't get the votes.
Really?
He could not get the votes to get it passed until we got elected at the Fresh Four. So I'm just saying that
That's good.
it was his
I didn't know
baby,
that.
and he was pushing it year after year, and like for 10 years, I'm told.
Wow.
And couldn't get it passed. So this
Elections
is why
matter.
voting matters. Okay, day after vote, day after elections, I'm saying this. But so anyways, okay, to move on, I wanted to just say, why don't we do like a prime -1 instead of, having it at 7, or like, what's the thinking behind that?
Yes, so prime right now, as a matter of fact, some people argue that we should have it at prime, and prime is 8.5. It may even go up. And so we thought, why don't we really do it below prime? And if prime rate drops to 7 and below,
Mhm.
then we can really say, okay, now prime is very low. Why don't we also go low so we don't charge them too high?
Okay, so we've got something that's gonna trigger that when that's at that time. Okay, one more question, you guys, that I just was unclear about, and that is the slide 9. So I know on slide 8, we had the 48, the number of businesses, but then on slide 9, we only have 4. So I didn't understand the portfolio performance piece on this. What are you, because then you have four spotlights. Are those the 4 that are?
Oh, those are
reflected?
the ones that are delinquent.
Yeah.
Those are the 4 out of,
Yeah.
those are delinquents. Out of the 48 loans that we have active, four delinquents.
Oh, okay, so we only have 4 delinquent
Correct,
and, out of the 48.
correct.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you. That clears that up. And then since I said I only had one more question, and that one was so quick, I'm gonna ask you just one more question, and that is page 4. Fine, yeah, we're good. Page 5. So are,
Today.
oh, right. Is it the yellow box that you were saying? That's where
Mhm.
we are, that's where our
Mhm.
program is, the yellow box?
Yes.
Okay, it just didn't have any words in it, and I was like, what is the yellow box? Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's that graphic came from when we did a study to try to determine where's our niche, where's the gap in the market? And so that yellow indicates what was the gap in the market. And so we modeled our program to bridge that gap.
Okay,
So basically, it's right at, that, you can't see it there, but that's why our program is under $75,000 is the loan amount. Because if you
Right.
look at the left side of the column, you see it's at between that 50 and 150 is where that line begins. And then young businesses, so that, it really wasn't the startup where the gap was the market. It was when you start having 1 to 2 years
okay.
that you needed that additional revenue or access to capital in order to do some renovations or expand your business a little bit more, whatever those things, but people were able to leverage things for startup. And so that was what the market study said.
All right, thank you so much for helping me understand that. All right, and so with that, I don't have any more questions. Does anybody else have anything else on this before we go to the closed session? No? All right, so at this time, I'll ask you to prep for closed session. And we need a motion, of course, right? All right. All right, so the motion to go into closed session is made by Commissioner Altman, seconded by Commissioner Meyer. All those in favor? Aye. So we're unanimous to go into closed session.